On numerous trips across the state of Pennsylvania on Route 80, I've always wanted to get off the main highway and go on the two-lane roads and see what else there is to see in Pennsylvania. And one town I haven't been to until recently, always has intrigued me, is the town of Williamsport. And it's north of Route 80, right in the middle of the state of Pennsylvania. And it's a beautiful area, very hilly with rivers flowing through. And of course, it's famous for being the home of the Little League World Series. But the main reason I was interested in getting to see a certain part of Williamsport was Millionaires Row. It's West 4th Street, just west of downtown Williamsport. Now, the name Millionaire seems to be synonymous with Williamsport. It once had the most millionaires per capita of any place in the United States. So much so that the high school teams, they go by the name of the Williamsport Millionaires. And here's their football stadium. And I'm not making it up. They're the only school in the country that has to have this as their school name, and it's on their front entrance to their really nice looking high school. And they don't make a big deal of it, but you could see the symbol with the top hat and the pair of white gloves on the basketball court. Yep, that's the symbol, and throw in a rose too and a cane, and then you've got the whole millionaire look down. And they have it across the front of their football jerseys too, and pretty cool looking helmet, I have to say. And I don't know if this is still existing. They've introduced a bus service to the high school from downtown called the Millionaire Express. So you see the name Millionaire a lot of places. So getting back to Millionaires Row, and why was there such a concentration of millionaires in Williamsport, at least at one time? In the 1800s, it was due to the lumber industry. So a lot of people made a lot of money being involved with the milling and distribution of lumber from the forested hills of north central Pennsylvania. And there's a historic district called Millionaires Row, which I wanted to see. A lot of Victorian homes. And to give you the idea of how wealthy this town at least once was, I mean, this was their library that was open in 1907. Beautiful. And we're all used to seeing pictures of yesteryear, how things looked a lot more vibrant in our cities. And this is looking down 3rd Street, which is one street parallel to 4th Street that Millionaires Row is located on. And when I was doing a little research, this struck me. I've never heard of a home for the friendless, but they had that in Williamsport. I'd have to do more research as to what kind of home that is, but it's interesting. 1910, you'll see a lot of dates on buildings in that era, 1900 and 1910. And this was their old train station. This picture is from 1910. It looks like it's by the river. I'm not sure of the exact location, but it was replaced with another building. And it was this building which I did go by and I wondered about what it was. And it was a hotel and the train station. The man who had it built, Peter Herdick, he got the railroads to only use his hotel as the train station for Williamsport. And it had a capacity of 700 guests, so it was just huge. It was square, and you can see a little horse-drawn trolley in the foreground on 4th Street. And this is what it looks like today. I saw it right at the end of my walk up and down 4th Street, which I'll show you. And you can see that they look like the same building, but the one on the right is much shorter. They had a fire back in the day, and the top 2 floors of the hotel were removed. And then it became the Park Hotel. Then it became a senior citizen residence for elderly ladies. And now it's, I think, just apartments. And there might be a restaurant inside. I'm not sure. It was kind of hard to tell what's really going on there. We drove all the way around it, and the train tracks don't run behind the hotel anymore. A lot of the railroad history of Williamsport is gone, sadly. But this building still remains, and it's on a nice property, and they have plans to do something with it going forward. So right across the street, Campbell Street from the Park Residence, Park House, or Herdick House, whatever you want to call it. This is the Whiteman Block, and this was also developed by Peter Herdick, who was a lumber baron, and he had this building built. I think it was always meant for apartments, and there was a penthouse apartment on the top left, right on the corner. And then he had a financial turnabout, and he went bankrupt, and his chief creditor was a man by the name of Whiteman. So Mr. Whiteman took over the ownership of the building, and that's what it's called today. And then Peter Hurtig got back on his feet and became a millionaire again in other businesses besides lumber. And this is the building right next to the Whiteman block, which intrigued me, and I talk about it when I'm walking up and down the street. I just stared at it. And there was an opera house in one of these two buildings, and I just think that the second floor of this building must have held something really unique, but it's all boarded up now. But it's still an interesting building at the end of a residential block. So the main point of going to look at various Victorian mansions that were built in the late 1800s up and down the street here on Millionaires Row. And these are some of the houses that I walked past. And I was shooting video and taking pictures at the same time. It was just a feast for the eyes. And I was walking up the street and I kept saying, well, I'm going to walk up one more block and then turn around, because my wife was waiting for me in the car. But it was just so interesting. I just walked another block and then another block and then finally turned around. So there are a lot of unique, beautiful homes on this street. And there are a couple of for sale signs, and I wanted to get a little more background on the houses that are for sale, and they're not listed on Zillow, so you'd have to contact these two realtors directly if you're interested. And this is one of the houses that's for sale by one of those brokers I just showed. And if you're looking for something similar, I saw this on Zillow. It's not on Millionaires Row, it's to the west of the Millionaires Row, but $315,000 for a 4,700 square foot Italian mansion, 1.2 acres. You only have to pay $3,500 a year in property taxes. And coming from the New York area, that's really cheap. Maybe in other parts of the country, that's not so cheap, but you could live here and feel like a millionaire. So as I mentioned, it's a little bit of ways away from Millionaires Row, but still the same vintage. So I'm going to show you now a walk up and down Millionaires Row in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. We're on Millionaires Row in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And I'm guessing a lot of the millionaires that made their money here, it was involved with railroading, which is no longer a thing here in Williamsport. And this was a church that the millionaires went to. I mean, look at this beautiful house across the street here. And I believe we're south of the downtown. Driven around a little bit, trying to figure out the lay of the land here in Williamsport. Beautiful house. Now a museum, the Rowley House Museum. I love Victorian architecture, so it's interesting to me. Look at this street. Walk up a little bit and then back down. But West 4th Street seems to be the main street, both residential-wise and commercially in Williamsport. Is that maybe West 3rd over there, the next street over? There's one street we went by called Little League Boulevard. $619 West 4th. is kind of an Art Deco building here. Some real beauties up here. I can't say all of Williamsport is like this. Maybe more like what you see there through on the side street. One thing you notice just driving around town here is a fair amount of public housing. There's a black cat in the window. But if you love Victorian architecture, this video is for you. Look at the paint colors on this house. Really brings out the cornerstones. Look at this house here with the columns, Corinthian columns. Off-campus student housing. There's one college in town called Lycoming College, but we're not right near that. And the houses across the street too, don't want to miss those. Up here a little further. People riding their bikes, playing their music, or driving with loud music playing, which I don't want to get on the video. Okay, well, it's a beautiful street. Beautiful paint job. Go up a little further. It's a nice long street. Just take another look at a couple more houses up here and I'll turn around. So it's a mixture of the 19th century and the 21st century. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to walk south a little bit. I mean, the porches. When we were a porch society. Walking down Millionaires Row. They're all pretty well kept up. There's one for sale. Just needs a good power washing and maybe repointing and painting. But it's got good bones. And then here's, it says banquet room now. I don't know what this used to be. As it gets a little more commercial at this end. Let's just see. I like the banding on some of the homes. You can see how, when you clean the brick, how much more colorful it is than where they haven't cleaned. All right, let's look over here. All boarded up. What was this place at one time? And look at this building down here. Just a gem. We're in a historic district, Millionaires Row. Really beautiful. I'm just looking for some sort of historic plaque on anything here. I don't see anything. I mean, I guess the whole district is on a registry of historic places. I hate to stop looking at this building, but I want to show you what else is around in the area. And there's a park here. Some significant building there. Was that a house? Or an institution or some sort with the wrought iron fence around it? Questions about Williamsport. All right, we'll walk down here a little further at the Berkshire. Maybe back in the day it had a trolley line. Now it's got a bus stop. And just like in other towns in Pennsylvania, I've seen there's a lot of churches. This one looks like it's Presbyterian. Covenant Central Presbyterian Church. That had to have built in the 1890s. Well, here's a little plaque here. Let's see what this says. Achievement Award. A local award, I guess. There's that big significant house or building across the street. All right, that's a quick look at a lot of the houses on Millionaires Row here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.